I started going to southern Russia twice a year in 2000, and it was a wake-up call. I had no knowledge of Islam. I had no knowledge of terrorism. And the subway was blown up, but we had to walk through where the bodies had been strewn. The planes that we fly on south from Moscow have been blown up by women with burkas. In the southern Caucasus, where we live much of the year, there's constant terrorism and murder of the peaceful Imams and of the officials and of the non-complying Muslims. As I say, the Imams are that aren't teaching the Koran are the target now, and the government officials, and, just creating terrorism, trying to get the people to conform to Islam again after the breakup of communism. And now they're all literate, so they all can read the Quran and be held responsible. At any rate, I then studied and I found that the Roma came from the invasions of what are now Pakistan and India by the Muslims, as they were dominating by murder and warfare. But the armies would carry their family with them and go off as they were forced out of their home areas, battling. And they went on for a couple generations till the people didn't know where their home was and drifted off. That's the source of the Roma. It was brought up that they came from Rome or something, or from Egypt. Then I learned that there were over 170 million slaughtered in the process of the Islamic invasions in that area. And I thought, oh, how terrible Islam is. I had no idea that was in 1400 years. Muhammad lived around 600 years after Jesus. And and I learned it was written like Surah 9 to kill the non-Muslims. Use all kinds of device against them. So I thought how evil that was. So many, maybe 200 million have been murdered since Muhammad started on his murderous campaign, himself beheading over 600 men from a Jewish tribe when he went back to Mecca. But that's another story. But, then I discovered communism murdered that many in 100 years. Communism and fascism, both socialisms. One I discovered to be female dominant. I discovered that Engels had included female liberation as part of the Communist Manifesto. I didn't realize women's liberation was one of the strong points of the communist takeover in Russia. But the evidence of it is there. They have the socialism, and the women can get their needs met and reject the men. And the warfare with so many men being killed, and the revolution with so many men being killed made it necessary if a woman wanted to have a baby to just go get pregnant. So a much breakdown in that culture. That the women's liberation, the free medical care, the ability to get rid of the men, and the boys being raised without a father, so they're heavily into drugs and toys and vodka and cars, and very few are fathers in a meaningful sense of the word, and there are more children aborted than live births. But communism killed more than in 100 years than Islam had killed in 1400 years, at least 14 times more virulent. And then I learned that women's liberation murders that many in 3 years. And then my friend Dewey sent me a video of the Anglican woman bishop calling abortionists saints. At any rate, I discovered that human society has inevitably become corrupted by affluence. The wars in Europe were not Christian wars. They were wars of sociopaths and psychopaths that were the product of the wealthy who didn't want to raise their children. That they were noblemen and the upper class who were raised without a nursing bond with their mother, turned over to other women, and growing up, as I say, sociopaths and psychopaths and sadomasochistic. You can find them all. Just look at Christine. Her father was the king of Sweden and died in battle. She was a goof. Went off and ended up putting herself in a nunnery. Just look at Catherine the Great. Just look at that one French lord that was in the Crusades, that even tortured the Bishop of Antioch to find out where his money was and left a trail of torture. Doesn't at all justify the conquest of Islam and the reign of terror and the glorifying of and covering of the fact. And that my culture was part of it. So I want to organize the background of society so it's clear, and psychology is part of it, and what tends to raise healthy people. We know how to choose genetically what we want for healthy dogs and pigs and chickens and cows and dogs, cats. We can domesticate the most wild animal. We are murdering so many unwanted children. You can call it legal abortion, but it's murder. And healthy, using the pity social dogma. The wealthy class needs to take care of me, and the pity the poor child. murder 60 million a year and degenerate what remains by keeping spending all kinds of money to keep suffering children alive in an unnatural way and helping unhealthy genetics to propagate. It's not right. Nothing wrong with a person with unhealthy genetics having a child, but it shouldn't be one that is cursed with the unhealthy genetics. That's a no-brainer, really, but that every child needs to be respected. How could we build a society like that? That the children's right to a nursing bond. The research last year showed that even a year old, the infant knows the mother's voice, and its heart rate goes down, showing a relaxation. Other women's voices, it gets more tense. This is a relationship from before the child was breathing, while it was inside the mother. It heard the mother's